Testing.
Greetings, listeners. You're listening to the second episode of LudoLingo. We've got a slight change in our cast this time. I'm still here, Jesse or Double Guns. We still have Sam.
Hello.
And Michael.
Hi.
And Train.
Hiya.
And Owen.
Howdy.
But we also have Cody.
Hi there.
And Austin.
Hello.
All right. So, what should we start out with? Let's start out with something that was actually mentioned by I guess we can call him a listener. Yay! On the forum, I posted the first episode on, and he suggested that we talk about, in some way, game reboots, which could be a lot of things, like what has worked. Game reboots, recent ones that come to mind are like Tomb Raider or DMC. We can talk about that, or anything that you would want to see rebooted from the past. Yeah. So, what I want to suggest is that Crash Bandicoot be rebooted, because it's all old and stuff, and it's gone. And Activision killed it when it went to the PS2, and it was awesome on the PS1 with Naughty Dog, and they dropped it. But you know what I think? I think Insomniac should pick it up, because they were all like in cahoots with Naughty Dog in the first, well, not the first generation, in the PS1 generation. Sonic and Crash were all like in demos in each other's games and stuff, and I think Insomniac would do a good job bringing it back. That'd be pretty fun.
They don't have that kind of money to buy from Activision, though.
Yeah, I know. Activision would never. They wouldn't even put it in freaking PlayStation.
I think they're going to make a Crash Skylanders or something.
Yeah, that's going to be depressing if that happens. Oh man, why is my dog barking? Oh man.
Hit it.
He wants the reboot too.
It's like Crash.
I gotta go see what's going on here. One of you talk about something.
Are we still talking about game reboots? Like,
Sure.
Do you want
Yes, we're still
I'm sure Cody has something to say about Tomb Raider. I'll be right back.
Oh,
And,
let's talk about Tomb Raider here now.
so, like, in the second you'll be able to hear Jesse kill his dog with a shovel. I told you it's a fucking bus!
And then he'll come back to edit this and hear all of this. And
Yeah.
have to make the decision whether or not
There's three routes.
Yeah, he's gonna have fun editing this after the videos. But okay, to actual discussion. I haven't played any reboots in the past, but I think like what a reboot should be is a game that captures the spirit of the original, but has updated mechanics and stuff to fit with the expectations of the new generation. And it's not like something watered down or anything that completely defies what's made the originals good. Like, that's the most common complaint I hear, is that like it drives away the old fans of the series and picks up new fans who don't know how good the old games were.
I think that's what Tomb Raider did so well. So,
But you can also have like spiritual reboots, like Halo 4, for example. It's nothing like the old ones, but it's not like a complete reboot. It's just like it's the same story and characters, but like everything else has changed completely.
Or like
I'm back.
new Super Mario Bros. It's like it's a new version of Super Mario Bros., right?
New Super Mario Bros. 2 with co-op.
No, it's a sequel, Sam. Come on.
It's a sequel to a reboot.
to a sequel.
It's a rebooted sequel.
Shit.
Well, this went well. I'm assuming. Wow, I just repeated
No,
myself.
it totally did.
It's like the first
you're gonna have
3
fun,
minutes after you left.
Yeah. You're listening to that. But anyway.
What?
Okay.
He said ominously.
Phrase.
Yeah, we veered off topic while you were gone. Fucking complete racist conversation. It was awful.
Oh, that sucks.
Close enough. Yeah, this is why I like the old format better. This is a lot more off topic.
Good.
Yeah,
It's fun.
it's
All right.
fine.
Does anyone want to talk about anything? Anything fun?
Well, still on the topic of reboots, like other than Tomb Raider, because I haven't gotten the chance to play that yet. Two come to mind are, like you said, Devil May Cry and Kid Icarus for 3DS. Because
That was a fantastic game. Just
I mean,
Also, the Thief reboot that's coming up.
the what?
it's not a
The Thief
reboot.
is coming up.
It's technically Thief 4.
But it's still a reboot
But it's
because the
called
game hasn't
Thief.
it
It's
hasn't
not
been out
Thief
for a
4,
long time.
isn't it?
It's not Thief 4 either. It's just Thief.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's
it's technically, what they're saying is, like, it's not called Thief 4, but it is technically Thief 4. It will have updated stuff, but it continues the story from the ones in 1999.
But it's still a reboot. It's basically still a reboot.
It's just semantics. We can move on from this.
Who cares?
Whether you call it a reboot or not, it's just basically the same thing. From what I've seen, it's kind of departing a bit from what made the original series.
Wait, we cut off.
Oh my god. Okay, what train?
Anyway, something else. It's not really a reboot, but a spiritual successor in the same kind of sense as Bioshock to System Shock 2, which I don't know if you guys have really played that at all. Sam, you might have. Cody, maybe.
I'm planning on playing System Shock 2, definitely.
I watched a Let's Play of it.
Yeah,
close enough.
Close enough.
Like, honestly, they're two completely different games, but, you know, in a sense.
It's not completely different. It's kind of like on a continuum between, like a more... I don't know what I want to say. It's just more like a more shooting-oriented game, as opposed to a more, like, RPG-style game. And System Shock 1, I heard, was even more of an RPG than System Shock 2.
Cool.
So yeah, but spiritual successors are the best because they don't like write, and it's essentially a new IP that takes like what made the original game good and translate it into a whole new creative setting.
Speaking of spiritual successors, Dark Souls. I'm not even going to talk about that. I just want to bring that up every chance I can. So
that's not really a spiritual successor.
That's a direct sequel, basically, but they just changed a little bit so they could get away with it.
To Demon Souls?
Yeah.
But it's
it's the same
it's the same game.
And stuff like that.
They just changed a little bit of stuff so they can, you know, like get.
Okay, this is just like isn't a productive conversation. It's just like semantics again.
So
whether you call it like a spiritual successor or a sequel or not, it doesn't really matter.
I just like saying Dark Souls. Okay, don't make fun of me.
So you gonna actually talk about it or just?
No, I just wanted to say Dark Souls.
Dark Souls.
Okay.
That's it. Podcast over.
I just got to get it out there.
Yeah, why not? It's like in between all your words, say Dark Souls. Like,
I already do that.
What is Dark Souls up, guys? We got Sam, Dark Souls, Owen, Dark Souls, Travis, Dark Souls.
After 5 minutes since I have not mentioned Dark Souls, something's wrong.
See, this is so much more focused than the last podcast. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
No, totally.
So are we done with reboots now?
I guess.
We didn't talk about them. We're done with them.
We talked about spiritual
This is why the broader,
we just mentioned them.
broader topics are better. Can we just make this into a podcast about arguing about the format again? I really like that. Productive discussion.
I don't care. Talk about whatever you want to talk about.
I have so much to edit out.
Not really. Why would I edit out people laughing?
You do.
No, yeah.
Well, I don't know what you said when I left, so probably just making fun of me.
Anyway, new topic, please.
I'll throw something out. I don't know if any of you really watched this video, but Sony just released that video about the developers talking about the DualShock 4 controller, PlayStation 4. And I know a lot of it is all stuff we've mostly known, but it might have been stuff like not a lot of people would have caught. Like, I didn't catch that there's a speaker on the controller, and they're talking about how when you're playing like shooting games, you can imitate like bullets whizzing through. I mean, on the Wiimote had the same kind of thing, and it was crappy. I didn't really like it that much.
It was decent. I mean, it provided a bit of extra feedback, but it wasn't like...
Yeah, there were some games it worked for, but for the most part, the speaker quality was horrible, and it just seemed like pointless. So I'm hoping that in this, it doesn't have the same kind of quality as the Wii does, and it actually like gives you more realistic three-dimensional feel of the game.
I think it will.
Isn't that just a gimmick, though? Is that something you actually care about?
No, it's the small things that count.
I don't care about, but yeah, it's a little thing. That's like the motion controls. You could call that a gimmick, the motion controls in the DualShock, but they provided a new feature for developers.
Or a gimmick would be touchpad. Because
on the see, I don't know exactly how that works yet. So
that has good applications for like menu navigation and stuff like that. So it's not really a gimmick. I mean, unless you use it for like making a fire or something like the Uncharted game.
I guess that like game in a mind like Call of Duty or Uncharted, like you use it to flick a grenade. Like who's gonna do that?
No one.
I know that
that's why they're not getting the feature.
Like, I know that Uncharted 3, you could, like, when holding a grenade, you could tilt the controller back to aim it and then flick it forward to throw it. And I don't know anyone who ever did that.
I don't think anyone actually used that. It's much easier to, press the trigger, aim, done.
Well, it's an option. I mean, like...
it's an option. Like, some people might like it, so...
Well, it's usually better developed... Well, I wouldn't say better developers, but when people are actually smart about making their game, they allow you to either use those gimmicky controls or play normally. Because if they just force you to do something like that, then it's really bad game design, because not many people actually want to do that. They should at least let you push a button or flick the controller.
Cough, cough, Golden Abyss.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, yeah, and that's not a fault on Sony's part. It's a fault on developers' parts. And
Well,
stuff
I
like
think
that.
it's
They're
a
not forcing anybody to use the
part.
features,
They're
they're just
like, you have
making
to
it
show
available.
off the Vita swipe and the touchscreen and
I
stuff.
doubt they ever say that, honestly.
Well, I'm
Like,
sure they
developers
want it to show off. Like, what's the point of having a touchscreen if you don't have any games that really use it?
Little Big
Want
Planet
to,
does
but I
that.
doubt they'd mandate that to their.
Well, I'm sure they had
developers, 'cause
some part of it in it, because there's no reason, like, they had all that touchpad and touchscreen stuff in it.
Alright.
Whatever. We completely went off topic from the DualShock 4.
That's not off topic. We're just talking.
No,
about
we were still talking about it.
Talking about a subtopic to the topic, you know, there's a feature of it.
But, alright, but on the DualShock...
And there's
Yeah,
one
I was going to say that. Damn it.
Okay. No, please. I insist.
Okay. Thank you, Travis. What was I going to say now? Yeah, it was pretty terrible on the Wii, but the Wii's never been focused on. Well, Nintendo in general have never really been focused on hardware, especially in the most recent years. They've been really focusing on software and IPs and stuff like that. And in the most recent generation, they've completely forgotten. Like, hold on a sec.
Oh, he's dead.
Check my notes.
Wait,
I'll
so
jump in and just say that I think I really like the speaker on the DualShock. I think that with the Vita and the touchscreen and the touchpad on the back and the speaker on the DualShock, I think that these are all features that are included on pieces of hardware, and then developers choose whether they let those things enhance their experience or if they turn them into a gimmick. So I don't think a product that comes
It's just
out
nice to have options.
it's ever like it's just a gimmick. Like I don't think the Move or whatever or the Wii or motion gaming in general is a gimmick. I just think that it's evolved into a gimmick. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
With something like the back touchpad on the Vita, though, it's what you just said versus the cost of them putting that into the system. And if they could have maybe taken down the cost by $10 and made it more affordable to people, wouldn't that be like smarter to do that other than just put it? I don't know. It just
I think it's safe to say that Sony's already agonized over whether the cost of adding that in would outweigh the cost of, or like the extra demand it would gain. And I think like what would the alternative be for the Vita? Like adding L2 and R2, that'd be like a bit costlier, I think. Especially with like
it's also about like future proofing though, because they don't know if that's going to be like a thing, like the back touch. I don't know if that's going to be a thing in a few years, and if it is, then they already have it and they've used it pretty well, somewhat.
Yeah, exactly.
It is nice to have because it works as L2
It's
and
options.
R2,
It's more options.
I guess.
That's all it is.
Well, I guess it kind of works because of the way that they're trying to get the Vita to be the handheld console, because so many games that are PS3 that are on Vita, there aren't the same amount of buttons. Like L3, R3, and L2, R2 aren't on the system, so they use the back and the front as that, which I actually like. But
Or maybe it was added because the PS4 has the touchpad. Maybe that was why the Vita has the back touchpad. You never know.
yeah, that makes sense too.
Want to go to a new topic or what?
Sure, why not? Anybody got anything? Cody?
So,
Go for it.
so Darksiders got bought, or actually, like all the other THQ games that hadn't been bought yet got bought by like Nordic Games.
Yeah, I saw that. Like who? I don't even know who that is.
They're
I
like
don't
some
either.
publisher in like France, I think.
Yeah, they were the
There's-
European publishers of Alan Wake. That's all I got from looking them up.
No, they published the Steam copy of Alan Wake. I
Oh
think.
fuck!
It's
random.
not even the retail copy.
I was hoping that somebody more known or well established would have done it.
They were talking about how like because a lot of the people who worked on Darksiders went to Crytek, right?
Yeah, like
So
they
they're-
opened a new studio. For
Yeah,
them.
they're talking about trying to get them to like make Darksiders 3.
Yeah, I heard in an article that they were talking with the original developers of the Darksiders series, so
Yeah.
that's a good sign.
They also
Yeah.
could be like IP squatting, like trying to like hold it and sell these things off later when people really want them.
Well, I don't think they'd be doing that.
Like they
if,
got them for really cheap. They can sell them individually for a lot more than what they got them for.
They got like all of those IPs for like $4.8 million or something.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that Red Faction wasn't that much.
Well,
I'm
that
surprised
series
a
has
bigger,
been
bigger
dying
publisher
off.
didn't snap those up.
I don't know.
I'm surprised Deep Silver didn't buy Red Faction since they have Volition.
I heard.
Yeah.
Deep Silver got Volition. Wait, what?
Yeah, they bought out Volition.
Wait, what
Yeah,
was?
they got most of the employees, and then the
Saints Row.
Oh, Volition is the Saints Row people.
Yeah,
I was
and Red
gonna ask.
Faction grew
So
up.
they got most of the people, if not all, and then they're working on Saints Row 4 right now. So it's just like they just moved publishers. They didn't. Most people didn't lose their jobs or anything, which is good. So
Infinity Ward bought Dark Souls.
Infinity War. Oh my god! No, I'm gonna have a
Dark
panic
Souls
attack.
map packs.
Oh god. Oh. Alright.
Ascension.
What? Oh.
Modern Souls.
I feel sick. Alright.
Modern Souls 2.
What were you gonna say before, Cody?
What was I going to say before?
Yeah, when you and Owen had a little feud going on there.
Oh, well, before I moved back, I was just talking with a friend. He got in an argument with his professor because his professor was arguing that there's no such thing as a linear game,
Oh my god, this is one of my
There
topics.
and he was arguing that
That master professor.
there are games that are completely linear, and I didn't say this to him obviously, but I agree with his professor in that there's no such thing. That's the only thing that video games have against other mediums is that there's infinite choices no matter what game you're playing, even if it's friggin'
Well, it
fun.
depends on what you define as linear.
That's
Yeah,
exactly what my
It's
topic was.
another
Yeah, it also
semantic conversation.
consider
What
it
a
short.
perfect segue.
You could go into like a Call of Duty game, which are considered linear games. They're not open world by any means, and it's basically a corridor the whole time.
Well,
you
it
just
does
go in and like run around in circles for 20 hours and put the game down and not progress
It
at all.
does depend on what you do mean on by linear. Like, do you mean by a story perspective or a gameplay perspective? It really all depends.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you're saying, like Final Fantasy 13, for example, everyone sees the story. Everyone sees the story the same way, but no one plays the game exactly the same way. It's impossible.
Well, no one sees a movie exactly the same way, so, I mean...
I think linearity can be defined by magnitudes of how much influence you can have over the game, not just like gameplay itself. You can do whatever you want, but like for a linear game, let's say you can only choose to use the sword or the shield during your gameplay, and then it's a corridor the whole time. You're bashing the same enemy every time with no choices. That's a linear game. Like
Also,
whether or not you
go to a movie theater and you see a movie. You see the whole movie, you don't see a movie different from anyone else. If you play like Modern Warfare 2, you play the same game as everyone else, so that's basically linear. You get the same story and the same levels, so...
What I wasn't going to bring up was whether games are linear or not. I was going to say, like, why are people so against linear games?
Well, there's nothing wrong with linear games.
But that's always an argument against so many like, especially I wrote down Final Fantasy 13. Everybody's always like, it's too linear. But like, what's wrong with that? It's still, you can still enjoy
I don't
it.
think people are mad about linear as much as like just having more of the same.
Nah.
They just don't know. They just like think linear is a problem. Like, I'm fine with linear. Like, just new stuff is better. I'd rather have like new gameplay stuff than a linear game.
And I think with Final Fantasy 2, like, people are so used to having a linear story, but in between that story, there was this huge world that you could explore.
Go out and do side quests.
Yeah, and once Final Fantasy X hit and they took the world map out, and that was a very linear kind of corridory game, and then they went to 11 and 12, which added these, went back to the huge open worlds that you could explore, and then cut to 13, and people kind of were fed up, even though 10's the best.
So 10's the best.
The problem with that is, like, again, going back to expectations. When people play Call of Duty, they're not expecting to run around in open world or anything like that. If they are, then they're crazy. But for, like, that's one of the defining factors of JRPGs and RPGs in general, is the fact that you have this huge and vibrant world to explore, and you can make a bunch of choices and things like that. If you have just like a corridor type of gameplay, why not just play a different game genre? I mean, like, that's... What do JRPGs have over other genres anymore? I mean, we have Western RPGs, which have more customization and things like that. We have they used to be the only games that could provide like a good story because of the limited resources that games had. But now basically any game can provide a good story, and so they don't have that over games anymore. So one of the only things they have left is open worlds, and you take that away, then what are they?
Yeah, but I think too what they have is just like the atmosphere that they provide. Like you can
do that in another genre too.
I don't think you can. You can't pick up a Western RPG and have the same feel as a JRPG. Just literally the country in which it's made has an impact on how it feels, and I think that's what people like.
That's I don't agree with that. Like, take for example, Dark Souls. You could call that a JRPG, quote unquote, just because it's made in Japan, but it's not like a JRPG style game. It's not turn based. It's free combat. It's heavily focused on customization and things like that, and it provides an entirely different aesthetic. Instead of being just like you could say you're exploring a vibrant world and things like that, but it's not like I'm going to save the world and all these characters and things like that. You're alone, and that's an entirely different type of atmosphere that it provides. So you can't tell that game was made in Japan if nobody told you.
I think I could.
Going to Japan.
JRPG has that turn-based, like, get a group of people and save the world. That's just like kind of like the main, I guess, like the main template of what a JRPG when everyone thinks of it. But there's still like many that are just like one person, not turn-based, like free kind of combat.
Like what, Michael?
Just have to go and save the world. What?
Maybe you should back up what you think with an example.
Okay, well, let's go. Not saving the world. Persona 4. You're in high school.
Yeah, but that's turn-based, and you're a bunch of people, and you've got a party, and you've got
the
Japanese stuff.
JRPG doesn't apply to the country it's from, or like, well, it applies to the genre, obviously, but it doesn't like describe the country it's from. It describes like whether it follows the tenets that the original like Japanese RPGs pioneered when those came out. It's because like, yeah, it's really stupid to define a game based on the country it comes from. That's that's all I'm going to say.
I'm not talking about elements or themes within a game. I'm literally talking about the vibe that the game gives off. And you can't create that vibe of a Japanese made game if you make it with American born people. I'm sorry if that's racist, but you can't.
How did you know that though? Like, I don't think there's ever been
exactly.
I know what you mean, because like when I go to play Final Fantasy or when I played Tales of Graces, I was like, oh man, this game is Japanese.
Yeah,
like it just like hits you in the face, and you're like, wow, this is Japanese.
Yeah, it has that feel to it.
Like you have to know that feel.
The feel.
You already know that it's a Japanese-made game, though. You can't say like, "Oh my god, this game is Japanese." If it says right on the box RPG, and you start playing, and like it's just a cutscene, you're like, "Oh, I can tell this is already an RPG. I can just tell."
Like you start the game, all the text is in Japanese. Must be an American-made game.
What?
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't even know what what are we even trying to get across right now?
I don't know. We're just talking about JRPGs.
Because I think it was Sam that said, "What do JRPGs even offer anymore that other games can?" And I was saying just that vibe and atmosphere of a Japanese-made game. And I'm not saying that every game that's Japanese produced in Japan is has that feel to it. Because Dark Souls doesn't, Resident Evil doesn't, but JRPGs do. And I think that's like the Alchemist series, what's it called? Totoro, and they have that Japanese niche feel to them.
You can't define that feel though.
How do you know they're not made?
There's absolutely no way that you can divorce that from the subjective experience of the user.
I don't know. Okay.
Did you just fill a silence by smacking your lips?
No, somebody's I was gonna say somebody's like clicking something. It sounds like me with my stupid blue thing. I'm all like.
I put a drink down.
No, it's been like for the past 10 minutes. Someone's all like, but not that loud.
Oh, it might be the person in my closet.
Oh,
person in your closet.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dane.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Dane,
But yeah.
What? Oh, I thought you were actually going to say something. It sounded like
I have something sort of. Cody was talking about he brought up Resident Evil, made me think about it. The new game coming out from the guy who made the Resident Evil games, like the first ones, Evil Within.
The Evil thing, yeah.
I think it's pretty cool that hopefully it's actually going back to like a classic survival horror concept, considering so many games have gone away from that now because people don't like it as much. Like Silent Hill,
The
Resident
mainstream
Evil
doesn't like it as much.
Yeah, the mainstream doesn't like it as much. My bad, but like I'm just excited to see it going back to a classic survival horror game.
True.
Hopefully,
because like, have you guys seen anything about Outlast at all?
Yeah.
But, like, I was looking at that, and I mean, even watching the videos like got me a bit excited, but also not because I don't want to play it. Because I mean, I'm never a big fan of horror games in the first place because I'm pussy when it comes to games. I can it's scary in a movie, but when you're playing a horror game, it's a completely different kind of experience, and I just can't handle that. But
That's true. We should talk about why that is. Like, why playing a game is so much more visceral than...
Because, like, in a movie, you're forced to basically walk around the corner. Like, you watch that guy walk around the corner and see the monster, giant dig monster, flip him out and kill him.
What kind of movies have you watched?
Tokyo Gore Police. But in a game, you know, it sets the atmosphere where you're in this dark, bloody hallway, you know, the lights moving, you know. You have to choose to walk down that hallway and open that door, and even though you know something's going to be around there, or not, which is like they're starting to go into more, but it's more of like a personal decision, and you can be like, fuck that, I'm not going in that door, turn off the game and play like Uncharted or something. Listen to your own personal fears instead of just like, oh, I know that guy's going to get his head chopped off or something.
I'd just like to point out that the people fighting against Nathan Drake are playing a horror game because he is like the most charming psychopath I've ever seen in any game. Just slaughtering people nonstop and making jokes about it.
They're pirates. It's okay.
It's all right. They're insurgents. No, but yeah, we talked about like making the choices in a horror game. That's what makes a horror game, and that's what makes like games really is the fact that you can self-insert and become the person that you're playing. It's not like you're watching a character make those decisions, and it's not as scary. But when you play a game, you like they become your avatar, and you are that person walking down the hall. And so when you get scared and when a zombie jumps at you, there's a lot more visceral fear involved in that than just watching somebody else get attacked.
Get it visceral because that's been yeah. It all comes back.
Well,
all right.
First-person game. I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you for a minute, Jesse, because I know you're going to say something.
I know. I've been trying to. It's okay.
Like, especially in a first-person game, I want to get back on Outlast because one of the main mechanics of the game is that you can't attack. You can only run and hide. And there was a game I played a while back, like a long time ago, beginning of PS2, that was like that, and I can't remember the name for the life of me. But
no, I got nothing.
You were on an alien spaceship, and like aliens came in and you controlled some woman. I know it had voice control too, to an extent, but
I've never heard of this game before.
Sounds interesting.
Voice control, like Kinect on PS2?
No,
I know it was in the PC version for that at least, but on PS2 I don't think you could do that. 'Cause I don't remember any kind of microphone.
Was it Hey You Pikachu? It sounds like that.
It was Hey You
Shut
Pikachu.
That is a true game.
Hey You Spyro. But yeah, like it's like I don't think that Outlast would be as scary because as I was watching it, I'm like, oh, this is just like every other horror game. But it's just like the use of the camera that adds even more kind of oh shit kind of feeling to it because it lessens your view, but also makes it in that creepy green what's the word? Night vision kind of view.
Tint.
And yeah, tint. Thank you.
Tint. Yeah.
But it adds to that creepy atmosphere, and I was watching these other people play, and as they were getting freaked out, I was getting freaked out too, and it just made me feel like I'm never going to play this game.
Should play that with the Oculus Rift.
Yeah, that's nice. We could talk about that later. But what you mentioned about the like not being able to fight back, that was a big feature of early survival horror games. I say early, like Silent Hill kind of survival horror games, like those originals, and that ties into the like one of the main do's of making a survival horror game is you have to make the character feel one like a normal person, and two powerless, and like making the person unable to attack goes like a long way towards doing that. Like that's what made what's it called? Amnesia so frightening for people is you just can't fight. You have to run and you have to not look at the enemies.
And Slender.
Virus database has
And
been
Slender,
updated.
yeah. I'm not saying that's like a bad game. I haven't played it or anything. It's just a lot of people got their hands on it. But
In Silent Hill, you had a gun.
yeah, but which Silent Hill game? Silent Hill 1?
Yeah, the first one.
They keep like ducking back and forth between like being able to fight and not being able to fight. But yeah, you can have a gun, but like usually like I've never played the games, but I think the guns aren't very powerful at all, and your principal motivation is to get away from the creatures instead of like rushing into combat, blowing everything up, and not having a care in the world.
Gun is more like a little bit of a lifeline, kind of like extending you, able to help you away.
Yeah, it. I guess it'd be kind of like that'd be an interesting mechanic to design for a game because you start to feel more powerful as you're killing these enemies, but then at some point, like it's survival horror, you're gonna start running out of ammo, and that will just make you feel really weak because the one comfort you had is now gone, and that's like the main. I keep like coming back to that's the main thing about survival horror games. No, but like they're supposed to make you feel powerless and like you had power and now it's gone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's less about horror and more about that feeling of being weak.
Yeah, that's why Silent Hill was so scary for me, because you had power and then it was gone, and then yeah.
Well, like one thing about just watching Outlast that scared me was like in those kind of games where like to an extent, like if you're trying to get away from something, it basically shows you where you can hide. Like, oh, hide in this locker, you'll be fine, stuff like that. I mean, unless the enemy sees you blatantly. But like if there's like a crack in the wall, once you squeeze through that crack, you're home free. The enemy has to find a different way because it just wasn't programmed enough to be able to do anything beyond that. But like in Outlast, there was a part where the guy was running and he couldn't look back to see how far the enemy was. He just had to keep running because the enemy is this huge hulking like freak thing. And yeah, but he like squeezed through this like little thing in the wall. It was like a stack of boxes and desks and stuff. And as he was squeezing through, he looked behind him to see where it was because it was still like in one kind of thing. And the thing grabbed him in the middle of trying to squeeze through this and ripped him out through the wall and just like threw him across the room. So it even adds more to that realistic feeling. Like once you get into that crack, you're safe. Because that's how it was in past games. But in this, you have to still look back every now and again, see, am I far enough to the point where I can squeeze through this and make it out? Because once you get through there, then it can't get through because it's too big, but it can still reach its arm through and rip you through that little hole.
So how have I not heard of this game? Like, what is it? When is it coming out, or what is it on?
It's on PC only. It's coming out.
That's why.
Year, but IGN's posted like at least 3 things about it.
Probably skipped
That
over it
reminds
because it
me
didn't
of,
have PS3 on it, but yeah, what?
that reminds me of the original Resident Evils. Like, with Resident Evil 1 and 2, they had kind of that survival horror, but it was older and stuff, but kind of that safe thing that they had was each time you went off screen, it would load a different area. So if you were being chased by a bunch of zombies, you would just have to run off screen. You're like, okay, I'm good, I'm safe. Zombies can't cross to the other thing. And then when Resident Evil 3 Nemesis came out, that was the first time that when people found out, you would go across the screen being chased by the huge Nemesis monster, and that monster could cross over to each loading screen that you did, and it was just kind of like a more scary moment because with the technology, how it had advanced, it was just a much more scary interaction. Just
like that idea of always being hunted.
Yeah, exactly. You could not get away.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that. Was the Nemesis the one that just like stalked you the whole entire game?
Yeah, like growled stars and had a rocket launcher and shit.
Fucking breaks through walls and shit.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like something that pursues you the entire game.
It's actually sad to see how far that series has like gone down the drain over the years. Like,
Yeah.
like it was like really good,
Or
and then Resident Evil 4 came out and like it changed a bit, but it was still pretty good. And then Resident Evil 5 came out and you're like, eh. And Resident Evil 6 came out and you just don't even want to play it. Like,
So speaking of which, it's kind of like a personal thing, but Jesse and Michael or anyone else who's played Resident Evil 6, well, it's $14 on the PlayStation Store right now, and I have that $10 credit. So my question is Resident Evil 6 worth $5?
I'd say for $5,
I would say
you can have
$5. Tell me.
You can have fun with $5 for it for $5, but not $60.
Yeah.
Like I get that, but I've been saving that credit for something I really want. But I'm looking at this because I've always wanted to try 6, but I didn't know if like it's that amazing.
Story-wise, it's okay. But past that, like, the gameplay is completely different from any other Resident Evil I've ever played. And, like, it's just, it kind of, like, it's cringeworthy almost. Throughout the
If you have
entire
someone
game.
to play it with, you should be fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play it by yourself. But I think deal-wise, the better idea would be to get. I haven't played it, but Tomb Raider because it's half off right now.
I know my friend just borrowed things, so I'm worried about that.
Hidokami, $20 for like a 40-hour game.
It's too long.
It's not too long.
Yes, it is.
That's 40 hours. That's horrible.
You know,
Well, I only know because like I 100% the game every time I play it. So that's
How many times do you play it?
Every
Yeah.
day.
twice a week.
I played it twice. It's a really good game.
Hold it.
It's only $20. It's
Buy
actually
Tomb Raider.
What, Cody?
Buy Tomb Raider. It's essential.
Or just save your money and wait for something to come up.
There's plenty of things to come up, but
Far Cry's coming out. Like,
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Blood Dragon.
So excited.
Doesn't it come out
which
this
looks
week?
amazing.
That comes out this Wednesday.
I wasn't
right?
No,
interested.
it comes out on Tuesday.
I
Tuesday
thought
for
it was May. I thought it was May
PlayStation.
1st.
Oh shit, it is May 1st. But I think it's the 29th on PSN.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's Tuesday PSN. It's
Here's
Xbox
some-
Live and Steam on Wednesday.
So yeah, Train, you could get, I think it's $15 too from what I've heard, so
Yeah.
they haven't
It's
actually
much-
announced it.
I'd rather get Blood Dragon than Resident Evil 6. Just saying.
I don't care about that anymore. Thank you. I didn't know that.
well, that works. We saved a life today.
Yeah.
Yes, because he's gonna die from playing Resident Evil 6.
It's not that bad.
It says a lot.
I don't know. I'm
He
not
might, I
the
don't
right
know.
person to ask about Resident Evil 6 because I only played 5 and 6. So like, and by this time it's hard to go back to the other ones because of the difference in controls and the way it plays.
I would
It's-
say for
The
$5,
controls are
yes,
still bad.
yes,
Difference
it's
in
worth
controls.
it for $5. But like, I bought it right when it came out for $60, and I regret that so much.
so did I.
And so did everyone else who bought it for $60, probably.
$5, yes, it's worth it. Like, the kind of making it more action, you're probably going to hate if you like the older ones, but story-wise, it's alright. I mean, for $5, yes.
The new character's cool. I forget his name now, but that was my favorite one of the
Jake
three.
Mueller.
Jake. Yeah, I liked him.
I figured you would.
Jacob.
It was
What?
weird because, like, his story's so, like, into the thing. Like, he's, like, that one, yeah.
He's the guy's son. And
Yeah, I don't want to
Nice
spoil
explanation.
anything. I'm, like, trying to beat around the bush about it, but,
I can't tell what you're talking about, so we're good.
yeah, it's
something
fine.
about Jake.
I don't think anybody cares about being spoiled about that.
The game came out in what, November?
Train
You should be
might.
fine.
It's October, I think.
Alright.
God, you're
Not
so
everybody
wrong.
has the opportunity to buy every game on release. You're just going to ruin like 90% of the games that ever come out for people if you take that attitude.
Well, no, I'm just saying though, like,
I would
if
say
people
after 2
were
or
interested
3
in it
months-
by now, with how low it's been on the price, they would have bought it.
I'm
Yeah,
interested
man,
in
it's
plenty
still,
of
like,
games that I
$30
haven't bought
used.
yet.
I'm gonna say like 2 to 3 months is like the good amount of time before. Like after that, go
How about just like asking if people have played a game and then spoiling it? It's not that much effort and it saves an entire piece of media for somebody.
Well,
Anyone?
obviously.
No? Okay.
I don't care.
Well, you don't just blatantly spoil things, obviously, but
like if you're just talking
Had that
about
up
it,
before.
2 to 3 months is like a good. I would feel
Yeah.
a good thing to just be like,
give them-
okay, I'm not gonna watch every word I say. I'm just gonna talk about it. Kind of.
That's nice of you.
Just say,
Well, 3 months after the game
Hashtag
came
bastard.
out, like that's pretty
Yes,
far.
That's
Like
more than enough time.
the ending's out, like so people. So
you can
So-
obviously
so-
still
so.
ask. If you're talking to a specific person, you're not just going to...
yeah, exactly.
Blurt
But
a
I'm not
spoiler.
like instead of being like, okay, I'm gonna like creep around, like exactly what happened in the game because no one can hear it.
What? What is... okay.
Creep around.
Creep around. Let's creep around.
Okay, I have a question.
I'm creeping around right now.
What's your question?
All right, so I went to buy Far Cry 3 last week.
What?
Yep,
I
it's a
have
very good game.
Good.
and I was hoping to spend like $30-$40 on it.
Yep.
And they were still asking full price for it and Dishonored.
That's weird.
Dishonored? What?
Really?
Well,
Everyone,
But
anytime I see Far Cry or Dishonored, it's $20-$30.
30 or 40 usually. Oh, okay.
that's well, I couldn't find it, so don't know. I was just wondering, like, when do you think a first initial?
Were you in
price-
Windsor or Toronto?
No, I was in Toronto. Yeah.
Filthy Canadians.
Let him ask his question, jeez.
So I ended up walking out with Assassin's Creed for $10.
Nope. Anyways, go on.
And
In before
Fallout.
disappointment.
I bought Fallout 3 too for $10.
So random,
Well, those are the two like biggest games that I've missed this generation. So
I guess.
I bought them.
If you want to play something like Far Cry, just wait till Blood Dragon comes out and buy that.
No.
So. It's
Blood
basically
Dragon
the
looks
same
better.
game.
Yeah, but Blood Dragon, I'm assuming, isn't going to be as like. It's not going to have like Voss, the whole character.
No, like the
biggest thing about
like
Far
if you
Cry
like the
3
mechanics in Blood Dragon, you'll probably like Far Cry 3 because it'd be more expanded
The
in
thing is,
Far Cry 3.
he doesn't like shooters. He's just playing it because it's a big game. I'm assuming.
But it's cheaper to buy the cheaper. It's better to buy the cheaper game that's like smaller and more contained. And then see if you like it, you can expand.
Blood
but I have-
Dragon's.
I kind of agree with him.
Voss was like the big thing about Far Cry. That's why like Voss was like a huge part of that game. Is what
Yeah.
like a lot of people
But how
liked
much
about
interaction?
it. So
How much
And,
interaction did he have?
quite a bit
character.
until stuff happened in the middle.
Until spoilers.
There is no second island in Far Cry 3.
I don't want to buy Blood Dragon because I've never bought a game just to see if the mechanics are good.
You don't have to buy Far Cry
Well,
3. I mean,
Don't
you're gonna,
then buy
yeah.
it for mechanics. Watch the trailer and then buy it because you'll be completely convinced that you want this game.
The thing
Yeah,
is,
Badass looking.
I have no interest in Far Cry 3, and I want Blood Dragon with all my soul.
See?
I've
I
seen
found out
other-
dragon. You can throw hearts and it tracks a dragon and then it just eats people.
So,
You
like,
can have
Blood Dragon
dragon
because it's set in
shots.
2007.
Blood Dragon is entirely based on gameplay, though.
Yes.
That's
It is a complete
No, it's based on
reskinning.
humor, aesthetics, and gameplay.
well, okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's
I
a
mean-
complete reskinning of Far Cry 3 though. Like every animation and thing is the same. It's just the color, like the color palette and
The enemies and everything.
enemies and stuff all look different. But besides that, gameplay and like animations, all that are the exact same.
Like, if you like running around killing animals and stuff in Blood Dragon, you're gonna like it in Far Cry 3, so...
That's fine, but I wanted to buy Far Cry to see the story.
Yeah,
That's why I
Not
was
really a
trying to
story
say.
to speak of, I don't think, but
you can pick it
I
up
haven't played
for it here. We'll go to Windsor. and we'll-
I've got to say, though,
What? No.
for like a joke expansion, I wasn't expecting it, but Blood Dragon looks beautiful, honestly.
It's not really an expansion, though, so...
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
DLC, whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's a standalone title.
It's like Saints Row 3. Like, no one expected Saints Row 3 to be as crazy as it was.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
I had to look at my door and make sure nothing popped through it.
What?
Are you like? You have a drug den, Owen?
No,
Are you being
dude,
serious?
I was following up on the Spanish Inquisition joke. Fuck yourself.
Okay.
Like speaking of price drops for games, stuff like that. There's one game actually, Jesse, Dead Island Riptide, that did something I've never actually seen before that I can remember. Is that it was 50 from the very start. It
Sly
wasn't
Cooper was
60.
40,
Oh, Sly Cooper, I guess, but yeah, whatever.
and you got the Vita.
Other than like those HD collection games
Mhm.
that are just, hey, we're making you rebuy the exact same game. Like that's obvious, but like Dead Island was a direct sequel to.
Do you think though that people?
They basically even knew like, hey, our game hasn't changed that much. Going to make you pay full price. So here you go. We're being bros.
Well, it's also like another reason they said was because it was so late in a console generation. They're like, we're gonna make it $10 cheaper, which I thought was cool. But
But do you think people look at the price and then assume? That
Yes,
it's like
that's exactly... Like, people look like, this is a $60 game, this is a $50 game, this one's cheaper, I'm gonna buy this one. That's how some people think.
No, what I'm saying is the other side. Like if one of us went into a store and saw that a game launched at $50, would we assume that it's a budget title that isn't worth our money?
It
$10
depends. It
I would say for
depends.
us, no, because most people who are like going in who will think instead of thinking as, oh, it's just a cheaper game, I'll buy it instead. The people who are thinking, oh, it launched at $50, it's probably like a worse game, are probably more like in tune with gaming news and would kind of know about it already. I would think.
Well, it got bad reviews anyway, but
Yeah.
Maybe it's
I
just them acknowledging that it's blatantly just the same game again, and they're like, well, this isn't even worth $60, so we don't want to force everyone to pay that. That isn't the case with Sly Cooper, though. That was just them. I don't know what that was for. Because
maybe they think they'll just sell more copies because it's cheaper. I don't know.
Yeah, companies don't think that way. Well, it's the same game, so we'll just make it a bit cheaper.
I think they do. I think companies recognize their products suck a lot.
Yeah, but like sacrificing profit margin just because, well, you know, it's the same thing, isn't really something companies do at all.
That's what makes it so special.
Okay.
So everyone should go Riptide to be special.
Be so what?
Next topic.
Okay, I don't know what you said, but okay. Does anyone have anything else, or should I bring it there? Well, we got 45 minutes. I mean, we could stop, but does anyone have anything else? No? All right.
No one?
No one. No one north.
There was something, but it would probably drag on a bit, possibly. It's something that you kind of touched on, Jesse, earlier, was talking about like trying to go back and play the old Resident Evil. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like kind of how well the games age, but also a deal of kind of like graphics, I guess, because, I mean, I wanted Kirsten to play God of War, and I didn't want her to start on 3, but I also kind of did, because knowing how she is, along with a lot of other people, they're conditioned to like love these new games because they look so real and wonderful, but then like look at God of War 1 compared to 3, it's like Polygon compared to like real. And it's kind of, like, I'm not going to lie, I even had the same kind of deal. It's hard to play a game that looks, I don't want to say bad, because it wasn't at the time, but it just looks like that compared to how we have it now. It's hard to get into a game like that and actually want to play it unless the story is absolutely incredible from beginning to end, and you're that kind of person.
Yeah, I have the same problem. I bought the Devil May Cry HD collection thinking, oh, alright, this game's going to be good. I can't not get into it just because it looks bad and the controls are aged. I just can't get into it.
That's
exactly
bizarre,
what
I've
happened.
never had that issue. Like,
yeah, you
ever.
always say that. I
played Metal Gear Solid 4 and I liked Fantasy while playing it. I just don't like the RPG, so I gave it up. What?
You're lagging. Your words were all just like one big word. I don't know what was.
Okay. I said I played Metal Gear Solid 1 and I really enjoyed it, and I started playing Final Fantasy 7 and I got a decent way into it before I stopped because I just don't like JRPGs. I'll pick it up eventually though.
That happened to me when I tried. Oh, what?
Best example.
What is?
Metal Gear Solid.
Mm-hmm.
I played it last year in one sitting.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Those are games that aged well, you're saying.
Yeah, but even like
I agree.
Has anyone here played a game called To the Moon?
What's it called?
Yes, amazing.
I've heard of it.
Can I give you like an e-hug? Because nobody I know has ever played that game, no matter how much I nag them to.
It's so good, yeah. And it's what, like, you know, it looks like it was made in the 80s or whenever.
It's literally made in RPG Maker, made for like the like 90s style RPGs, like Final Fantasy 7 and stuff like that. It's the worst graph. Just like pixel art, basically, like quote unquote worse. I mean, because it's just not capable of as much. But I've given 3 people my Steam information so that they can download and play it, and I've told them it's a 5-hour game and nobody wants to play it. I'm so sad.
Totally recommend it, but I think it's a good example for what we're talking about because it's a game that looks old, even though it isn't. It looks old, but it still had a really big impact on me, and it was a really, really cool story.
To me, I think the biggest issue with aged games isn't completely just how it looks. It's like
how it plays.
You can't say
how
the control. It's not the actual controls. Like X does this instead of this. It's just how it feels.
That like features in it that made it better. Like as time went on.
Yeah, like I tried to go back and play Silent Hill, and you have to like it's not. You can't control the camera or something. I forget what it was, but the way you walk, you have to like turn. You have to like turn the way you're looking and then walk that way. And it's like I can't wrap my head around that anymore. At the time, I probably could have, but I was too young to play that game at that time. But I just can't go back to games that feel like what I would call clunky.
Yeah, like over time we've developed all these like new mechanics and we've gotten used to them. It's hard to go back.
Yeah.
Part of survival horror games is like learning to grapple with mechanics and stuff like that. 'Cause can you imagine, like, you see the monster and you're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and then you try and get away and you have to like turn your body and then walk and stuff like that. And you can't open the door. That's what the person would be experiencing during that.
Like, that's the same way what made the first Resident Evil in a way, because like it was something bad, but it also helped to the game was the camera. Like, the camera was horrible, but it also added that kind of fear of the game. But in today's day, people would just shut off and say that's just a bad game. If someone made Resident Evil 1 in the exact same way it was, but with updated graphics, no one would want to play it because it's just not scary anymore. Like, that was the first kind of deal you ever really had with zombies in a game and stuff like that.
Who's moving their computer around?
Not me.
That was like really loud. Nobody was doing it. I was just coming out of nowhere. Okay, that makes sense. Oh yeah, I'm moving my tower around, and it's connected to the mic.
You can't go to the gym.
Oh my god.
It's obviously a laptop moving around, but whatever. Nobody wants to admit to it. I was totally gonna bring up Dark Souls again. When we were literally like 20 minutes ago, when we were talking about.
You've been thinking about it for so long.
I have, because I got cut off twice, and I'm like, oh no, that's fine, go. But then eventually we got away from that topic, and I didn't get to mention it. When we were talking about fear in games, you always talk about fear in horror games, except Dark Souls is not a horror game, and when you're playing that game,
described as a horror game.
What? Well, yeah, because there's fear in it, but it's not a horror game. It's not marketed as a horror game.
It's not designed to make you scared.
It's not marketed, yeah, and it's not an intrinsic horror game where you fear for yourself. It's like fearing for what you have in the game and things like that. And that's a type of fear, but it's not like the same kind of thing as a horror game. So I would say it's a horror game.
No, I wouldn't say it's a horror game
because it has
at
that
all.
atmosphere.
It's just the atmosphere of
Not
you
horror.
being dead. And like the first time you play it, especially like the best way to play those games is to not look anything up, have absolutely no idea what you're doing, and like never look anything up, right? And you're just walking around, you never know what's going to happen, you're afraid of dying and stuff, and my phone's ringing, so I will be right back. Somebody talk about chocolate bars or something.
Well, yeah, that's one thing I never experienced with the Souls game. Well, I only played Demon Souls. Like, I never like, oh my god, I'm gonna lose my souls. It's like, on the last level, I had 50,000 souls, and I was just trying to get past... Yeah, I was just trying to get past this last point, and I just lost 50,000 souls to some stupid thing where I tried to roll out of the way, and the hit detection was wonky. And it's not like fear. It's like, well, yeah, you're shocked and you're pissed off and stuff like that. But it's just being angry.
More frustration than anything.
Yeah.
Well, that was depressing. I was trolled by the nothing because there was nobody there.
So your phone rang and there was no one there.
Yeah, and I know who it was too, because I got like call ID, and it was like my mom's friend, but she didn't say anything. She wasn't there. Just trying to get me distracted, get me away from this thing. Jeez.
Yeah, she's listening to it right now.
Back on the horror kind of deal, there was one game I played. Actually, you've all probably played it, Uncharted. But I remember when I first played Uncharted, I only wanted to play the first one because 2 was about to come out, and I really wanted to get into it. And the first time I played 1, I couldn't like it at all because it was kind of bad. But it was kind of bad.
Oh,
it had issues.
That's actually, but it's the best one.
What?
One is not the best.
It is
What?
not.
Don't even get Cody started. It's his favorite one.
Okay, well,
One's gameplay was just frustrating.
I really disagree with that in many ways, but let me just keep going. Like, when I got to the end of the game, like, I expected it to just be like an adventure, like Tomb Raider or something like that, but then it got to the point where there's those, like, slippery naked guys running around.
That's a great way to market
I think
the
I
game.
need to replay this game.
Well, that's how he describes it in Uncharted 2. If you look through the diary, he describes it as a slippery naked guy. But, I mean, that part scared me.
How would he know they're slippery?
Because, like I said, I'm not big into horror games, and, like, sitting in that place where you have to turn on those valves while you're in the dark with, like, those red lights, I did not want to, like, jump down from the safe zone, because I didn't want to walk down and see those things, like, start crawling around, going, just, like, fucking, like...
Those things, yeah, those things are pretty...
Not what I bought. It, like, scared me, but it was, like, cool, though, because it kind of threw you for that tangent where... You think you're playing just like an Indiana Jones, but some little younger guy, and it's not. It's like all of a sudden it just becomes like this horror game for like half an hour, and you know it it worked. It scared the shit out of me, but
That's kind of weird because, like, I've played Dead Space 1 and 2. I was kind of tense through them or whatever. I was never really, like, jumpy or, like, scared. But for some reason, the only time I've actually been scared by a game, which is going to sound ridiculous, was in Uncharted 2. When you're walking through near the end when there's those monkey things running around, and you're walking to this snow area, and you're walking through this cave, and randomly, it's before you're actually introduced to them and you're actually like fighting them. It's right before that.
oh, yeah.
And you're walking through this cave and you see one in the corner, and then it like runs away. I didn't see it as I'm walking through, and then all of a sudden it like moves and ran, and I was like freaked out.
Well, because it's just a silhouette, so you think it's part of the rock, like the view they give you, and so you think it's part of the rocks behind you, but then it just moves, and you realize, oh shit, that's not the rock, it's fucking something.
It's like really subtle things like that really get me, I guess. When because Dead Space, I feel like didn't.
You were expecting it in Dead Space.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's creepy music playing. I wonder what's gonna happen. Oh, they jumped out of the wall. Ah, no, like, okay, that's so scary. I know, but that's all Dead Space is, and everyone's like, it's so scary!
It's not scary.
No, it's not scary.
What you mentioned about the monkey hiding is really interesting, and this is why I love horror like development so much, and the different development tropes that it uses, because it's so different from most other games. Most other games want to have like a fun experience, things like that, but horror is so divergent from that aesthetic that it really uses a bunch of different, like, and very unique systems. And one of those is making the player doubt their own senses and stuff like that, and it usually ties into like their avatar's like sense of sanity and stuff like that. Like, one of the most common tropes in horror games is that the person you're playing is losing their mind. And so when games do that, where like you're just about walking off the edge of the screen and things are moving off where you can see in the game, and then something moves, and then you go back and look and there's nothing there, that's what horror is. You're supposed to be doubting what you see and things like that. And was that a monster, or was that just me?
That was something in Dead Space 3 that I haven't played yet, but I've been wanting to, just for co-op, that I've been wanting to play because of this. It's like because you're Isaac Clarke, and then the other guy who's the other co-op partner, I can't remember his name, but
Carver.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
John Carver.
He's like introduced into the insanity, and so like you'll see things as playing as him that's part of the insanity, but as Isaac, who's already taking control, he doesn't see this at all. So you'll think you'll see a necromorph, start shooting at it, and then your partner will be like, well, what the hell are you doing? And you're like, don't you see it? And then it adds that kind of like, what the fuck is going on?
Like, those were like so hyped up before the game came out, but like, in all honesty, when you get down to it, it's kind of just disappointing in a way. Like, it's fun because my friend, like the person I played co-op with, didn't know about it, so he's playing as Carver, and like we do the optional side missions, and like you get like radio frequencies to update you on missions and shit. So like he gets his own radio frequency that I couldn't hear. And he's like, "Dude, you hearing this shit?" I'm like, no. What are you talking about?" So like I knew that he was like seeing, like, there was this weird shit going on, so I was just fucking with him the whole time. And then like we get to the thing, and then like he's walking around looking at things. He's like, "Dude, there's a giant fucking like present over here," some shit. I'm like, I look at him. He's staring like a fucking barrel next to like a shelf. I'm like, "Yeah, man, totally."
That'd be interesting if they do that with like an entire game where one person sees a completely different game that the person they're playing co-op with does. That'd be cool. No, or not. Whatever. I like weird things.
I'm thinking about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I've seen like multiplayer horror games where different things are happening that people can't see, and like one of the most interesting things is like when people are playing in a group and they've got that sense of security, and then all of a sudden like in-game voice comms get cut off, and you look for them, they're nowhere to be found because they've been transported to a different place, and you don't know where they are. That's really interesting. I'd love to see like a multiplayer survival like horror game get made, and that's hopefully that it's a genre that explodes in like the coming years, because it
like
really
is
interesting. Not entirely. I mean, it's survival, but it's not really horror.
Yeah.
That's the last.
Like it's got the
supposed
atmosphere of being multiplayer, yeah, but it's not going to be like.
So,
it's probably just going to be a straight up deathmatch.
That's something I just thought of. That I know, Jesse, you might love this, but like in the same kind of sense of a multiplayer, I want a game that has that thinking mechanic and multiplayer, but in the setting of Saw, like in Saw 2 or something like that. Like have like 6 people in a room, and you have to work together to figure out. But obviously, most of the people won't work together, just kind of be like, what the fuck is this? And then just do off of their own thing, because people are conditioned to just kind of fuck around. But, and then once you die, and like no people can come back into the game. It's just like you get a certain amount of people into the lobby, and then you start playing, and you have to figure out how to get out, and that'd be kind of a really cool game to play.
You wouldn't really have the threat of pain or anything like that, so it wouldn't necessarily be horrific.
Still kind of like, fuck that, I don't want to lose, I want to win.
It sounded like, the whole time you were saying that, it sounded like you were punching your computer. Am I hearing things?
Get this idea out to the world.
Am I hearing things?
Are you insane?
I guess so. Is this all a game? Am I seeing things differently?
Is this real life?
Get over.
Is this just fantasy?
I'm seeing these numbers. I don't know what they mean.
What do the numbers
Mason?
Mason. All right. Well, I think we had some fun here. I think we're done. We got an hour. That was fun.
Yeah. An hour.
Yeah. I'm an hour. What?
Yeah. Take that.
Sorry if I offended you.
Sorry.
You're an hourglass.
Oh, I have an hourglass figure.
Yeah.
But that's a womanly thing.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Dude, so, don't worry about it.
That's where he was going.
Oh man, must be seeing things differently. Everything goes together. Well,
Yeah.
all right. Whatever. That's it. We're done.
Okay.
Okay. I was debating just stopping right there, but I think we should.
Well, looks like you're gonna have to now.
No. All right. So goodbye, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions for future topics for future episodes, then leave them wherever you can contact me. Oh, like in the comments if you're watching it on YouTube. Send it to me on PSN. You can figure out some other way to telepathically get it to me, and maybe we'll talk about it. We're also looking for, not looking, but if any of you want to be a part of this and you actually have things to say, like Austin, he wasn't originally going to be a part, but he's just like, hey, I'll join, I'll talk about stuff, and then he did. So yeah, if you want to be a part of it, maybe you can. Just talk to me about it. So until next time, goodbye. Everybody else say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good morning.
Bye. Good morning.